Jen, and this is Dennis Furia, and we're here to talk to you about finances today. So we're in section 10 of your book if you want to follow along. We had a plan when we first got married. We invested in a house. We lived in Madeira. I, as the planning person, said Madeira is a great place to own a house because it's a great starter home, great house value. And we ended up staying in that house a bit longer than we had expected. It was actually, about 6 years into our marriage, 6.5. But we did finally get to a point where we felt like God was calling us to a new place. And so it was time for us to sell the house. We found the new house, the house of our dreams. But as we decided to put an offer in on it, we knew we were going to want to do a kitchen remodel, which is expensive. And in talking to some coworkers and other people, we kept on hearing the same thing, which is, oh, Madeira is such a great place to buy a house. Your house is going to sell like nothing. You know what? You could really save that commission if you sold the house yourself. And Dennis and I are pretty good at overall managing things and making sure we can get stuff through.
So we thought.
And honestly, I was just kind of seeing a bit of green. And so it was that chunk of change that we could save by not having a realtor, and our house was going to sell right away. I mean, heck, we could start our kitchen remodel immediately, and it was just the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so we were seeing green. I mean, the specific comments I got was like, oh my God, it's Madeira. It'll go before it ever hits the market. Like you'll have so many offers.
Above asking price.
Yeah, so we put it out. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to get like so much higher than what we're asking. We put together a flyer. You can see it on the screen. And just in general, thought like this is going to be really easy. And, I wanted to make sure that we did it right. And so I was kind of in the weeds on a lot of the details, and, we use a site to list it instead of a person. I thought I had read all the details on the site of all the fine print. And then there was a charge for uploading additional photos that I wasn't expecting. And I was like, no, I've read the fine print. I know it said very clearly no additional charges. So I thought, I'll just call them up and clear this up. So I got on the phone, and the person on the other end of the line was just incredibly rude and was like, no, you're not going to get your money back. Like, I don't care. It's not in the fine print. That's the way it is. You have to pay this fee. And when I pressed him and tried to be reasonable, or so I thought, he wound up, this person on the other end of the line, saying, there's no way in hell you're getting your money back. Call me back when you're ready to understand it. And then he hung up on me. And I don't know if anyone is like a pacer when they're on the phone, where you kind of have to walk while you talk. Well, I was literally just storming around the house, and I was fuming at that point and just felt disrespected. I was outraged. I was ready to like kick in a door or something. Over a $36 fee ultimately. So at this point I hear Jen coming home, and I'm like, all right, the cavalry is here. I wasn't able to get through to this, wacko. But my wife is pretty good at getting stuff her way. So I'll enlist her help in this whole thing.
Yes, to Dennis's credit, I do normally, I do a very good angry consumer. I was expecting this, and I'm very sad that you didn't give it to me, and I have been known to finagle. But I had actually read that there was an additional fee for more photos. And to me, $36 versus the thousands of dollars that were going towards our kitchen, I mean, no comparison. And so Dennis came and demanded my phone and started being very angry, and I pretty much dismissed it. I said, let's just pay the fee and move on with it.
Yeah, which I heard is just pay the fee and move on with it. And I felt betrayed, or I guess I should backstab, betrayed. I was like, oh my God, my ally has turned against me, and it caused a huge fight. We wound up having to pay the fee, go figure. And we actually, whereas we thought the house was going to sell right away, that huge amount of conflict just in the first day or two kicked off a 6-month period. I think it might have even been an 8-month period where our house sat on the market, in a hot market, in a market where we thought it was supposed to move right away. And it was just an incredibly painful experience. And one, that got kicked off, that much conflict over just $36. And then we had this whole house thing literally hundreds of thousands of dollars looming over us for months and months after that. All of which is to say that, the financial situations that you find yourself in, be they over hundreds of thousands of dollars or be they over tiny amounts of money, they can cause conflict, and money does have a ton of power. And we want to talk to you today about the idea of financial oneness, that as you're coming together as a couple and as one unit under God, there's a lot that has to do with finances within that. So I'll start using a quote from a biblical scholar that you may have heard of. And I think he was very wise when he said, "Mo money, mo problems." That's right, Biggie. And I don't know what Biggie Smalls believed, but and I don't know if he knew this when he said it, but what he's saying here, one, is absolutely true, and two, is rooted in Scripture. That's right, God said it first in Matthew 6:24. He says, "No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." And so the Bible makes very clear that money can be a source of division. And specifically, if you're trying to serve both God and money, it's going to cause conflict.
So there was a research poll done of millennials. Is anybody still a millennial? I think we're all still millennials, right? Or am I?
There's probably some Gen Zers getting married, you weirdos. You're babies, stop it.
Where 36% of millennials said that they kept a bank account hidden from their partner. So the money was kind of separate from the relationship overall. But similarly, 31% actually said that hiding money from their partner is worse than cheating. So take that in for a minute. Hiding money is worse than cheating. It seems pretty big, but it is rooted in the Bible. If we go back to the Bible in Matthew 6:21, it says, "For where your treasure is, there will be your heart also." So realistically, if you're hiding money, there might be other things that are hidden as well.
Yeah, not so out there when you view it through that lens. So let's continue to look at what the Bible says about this, and let's take the macro view. And you can probably tell we're trying to impress the importance of money, but let's look at the number of times the Bible mentions love versus the number of times that the Bible mentions money. And just tell your spouse right now. I assume you're sitting with them. So just lock it in right now. What do you think is mentioned more in the Bible, love or money?
Say it out loud. Actually, commit. We can't see you, but commit.
All right. So we will reveal now, money is actually talked about by the Bible 4 times more than love. And you had to know that was coming, right? This is the finance talk. But, that is a huge amount of importance in real estate, referencing earlier, real estate given to money here. And that's because we want to impress upon you that money is spiritual. There is something about money that can have a spiritual effect on you and on your relationship. And that's why the Bible talks about this. God knows this. God knows the effect it can have on you for good or for ill. And he has a lot to say about it. And so, all of those examples, all of those different Bible verses, just to impress on you guys, money is going to be a force in your marriage. And it's something that you need to put intention into. So yeah, we're going to talk about that from a couple different angles now.
So you guys have already talked a little bit about family heritage. We talked to you about that. But financial oneness and family heritage kind of go hand in hand. A lot of the way that you were raised and the way that you saw money is going to impact the way that you're seeing money right now. So if I was going to summarize my family heritage for money, I would call us squirrels, but very proud squirrels. And what I mean by that is my mom had me start an IRA when I got my first job and kept on telling me the fable of the ant and the grasshopper and how the ant made so much money by saving it. And so I can impress upon you all of the great virtues of saving things. But then I also came from a house where the savings and the amount of savings has almost become a competition. I don't know if any of you guys shop at Kroger, but they had woohoo deals, which are now manager specials. And I'm not too proud to say that my father and I have compared what kind of woohoo deals we have gotten, or just savings from other places. And I think some of what I ended up taking from that is, not being able to pass stuff up because it was such a good deal, even if it was a piece of clothing that I didn't really love, but it was 90% off and cashmere, I had to buy it. And so there are some things that you just need to be aware of that you're maybe bringing.
Mm-hmm. On my side, my family heritage, I grew up in a very large family, on a single income. And that meant that you kind of, you spent what you had when you got it, because you didn't know how long it was going to be around. And so I don't remember us being poor or struggling that much, but certainly like you kind of, when you got money, you went and got the thing you wanted right away, because that's when you had it. And so that's when you should get it. And that mentality kind of pervaded everything I did. I remember we went on vacation, and my dad gave me and my brothers each $10 for the week we were there to spend on different things, the gift shop and the arcade and everything. And I think within the first 3 hours, I had spent the entire $10 in the arcade, and spent the rest of the week trying to cover for the fact that I didn't actually have the money anymore.
That also extends for those of you who were mostly only children, like me, to marrying somebody who didn't have a lot of food around. I thought that I could take a portion of dinner and then go back for seconds, and have been sorely saddened many times when it's not there. So just fun fact and tip.
There's no such thing as seconds when there's 9 people around the table. Come on, folks.
So,
yeah.
but
so those are some negative background from family. There's also positive things you can take from your family as well.
So, in my family, my parents taught me to treat a credit card like a debit card. So never carry a balance on it. It's just something that can build up your credit so that when you need to take out a loan, you've got it. And so that's something I'm thankful that they taught, and it's a habit that we have decided to keep.
Yeah. From my family, like I said, we were on one income, and that was by choice. And while we both work, we've always lived and budgeted in such a way so that if we wanted to live on one income, if one of us decided to stay home, that would be an option. And that's just kind of taken a lot of the pressure and stress off, to know that that is an option, and live in a way that we kind of have that outlet should we ever need it. Your personality also has a lot to do with how you interact with finances, and specifically how you interact with your spouse around finances.
So I have the powerful personality, and what that means is, honestly, I am better at being our family's CFO than Dennis is. I have a good job maximizing efficiency. In fact, saving money is a reward unto itself. And it means that having a late fee will grind my gears for any of you people who know Peter Griffin. Oh, it really makes me mad. And so that means that I am really focused on making sure that I can stretch our dollars to the best way, that we're spending in the right places.
Yeah. And I think the perspective that I bring, as more of like a harmonizer and a people-focused person, is really understanding the value that we're getting versus just the numeric dollars in something. And so there are absolutely times where investing a little bit more makes your life exponentially better. For example, there was a summer where our AC was kind of broken, kind of not. And if you cranked it all the way up, we could kind of struggle through, but everyone was hot and grumpy. And I kind of pushed it and said, okay, this is ridiculous. Our happiness and our ability to be cool will help us be cool with each other so much more. And that investment kind of saved our summer. But whereas Jen comes from a financial background of saving is its own reward, and the numbers are what you're judged by. Kind of having that, what's the actual value is valuable to have.
Dennis has taught me that I need to value my own time a bit more. And I think I've probably taught Dennis a little bit that there are some things that it's worth fighting for when it comes to money.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd get ripped off all the time if it wasn't for Jen, that's for sure. So yeah, I think we also want to really impress on you the importance of being intentional with your financial planning. And we'll talk in a little bit. That looks different for everyone, but the important thing is that you are proactive about it versus reactive. That you're having these conversations now as a couple, and then ongoing throughout your marriage in times when you're not in immediate financial crisis, or when you're not staring down that purchase that you really, really, really want to make. Have conversations around money when you're out of those moments, so that you can have a much easier time in those moments. One tool for that, and we're going to go through several tools, but one tool for that is living on a budget. And man, there are so many different apps and tools and programs out there. We've got just a couple up on the screen right now. And I would say a budget is kind of like a diet. There's no magic bullet budget that everyone needs to have and is perfect. You just need to find one that works for you and then stick to it. And that's where the kind of healthy lifestyle is going to come in. So take one of these, go find another. Have envelopes in a drawer in your house. We have friends that do that and it works great for them, but have a budget.
But that might be too stressful for you, and that's okay. Honestly, it's too stressful for me. I really hate, how do you categorize Target where you buy food and things for your house and fun stuff? I don't know. And so it stresses me out. And so we do a little bit more of this 10, 20, 30, 40 rule, which is 10% tithe that goes straight to God. We have our savings automated, and our savings are a bit higher than this because that's the way we're choosing to live. But then you've got an amount that goes towards housing and other things, and then you've got other living expenses. And honestly, anything that's left over, if you've got other living expenses after that, if you're taking care of the things that you know need your money immediately, the excess you can spend anywhere and you don't have to put it in a category, which unstresses me out.
Yeah. And I would say, the budget, or just this kind of 10, 20, 30, 40 rule, gives you a ton of permission. And when you're spending and it's out of that 40%, or it's out of like the fun section of your budget, there's a huge amount of guilt and worry that's just taken away because you know that you've allocated for this.
Yeah, God has given you this money, and he doesn't want you to feel guilty about spending it. So there is one thing to just spend it frivolously, which is bad, but there's another thing, which is over saving and worrying about it, which is bad. And so I think what we're trying to impress on you here is that there is a balance, and if you take money out of the seat of importance, it gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah. But let's say that the budgets or even just the 10, 20, 30, 40 rule is feeling too stressful for you.
One of the things you can have is having a maximum spending amount. So there is an amount of money, for us, it's around $100, where if you're spending under that, you don't really have to ask your spouse. So, and there's other things like groceries or car repairs that you don't necessarily have to talk to each other. But the idea here is you're not keeping purchases a secret. A lot of times it's better to have the conversation before you buy the thing versus after. But realistically, no one should be in the dark about where your balance sheet is sitting.
Mm-hmm. But you kind of, again, having permission, if it's under X amount, for us $100, then you don't have to worry about it.
The other day, Dennis wanted to buy something. He's like, dang it, it's $105. I have to talk to Jen about it.
What was that? I don't think I wound up buying it. Yeah, and so that's just a good rule to have. Establish that threshold, and that way you can kind of know if. By the way, don't use this as an excuse to go buy a $70 pair of shoes on 5 different occasions, spread across trips. But that could be helpful. But even that might feel stressful for some people. That everyone is in a different place on finances and how closely they want to be engaging with them. With all these tools that we've given you, the through line and the single thing we want you to take away and make sure you do is just discuss finances regularly. And like I said, having those discussions when the pressure is not on, having those discussions outside of the context of immediately wanting to buy something or having some unexpected cost come up, is going to make those conversations so much better. And when those financial situations do arise, and they absolutely will, let's say it's just a fact of life, you're going to feel so much better and so much more prepared and so much more together on those conversations. So whether it is a super complex Excel spreadsheet out the wazoo budget, whether it is just a maximum spending amount, have some kind of discussion and have it regularly.
So you guys in your homework overview email got a link to watch a video. So you should go and watch that now, and we will wait for you. Seriously, pause it and go watch it. See, that was a test. If you didn't actually watch it, you're going to be like, what the heck are they doing? And now you should feel bad. Okay, so the whole point of that, other than to make you laugh, and normally it's easier when we're not virtual, is delayed gratification isn't bad. It's hard, as evidenced by all of our young friends there, but as much as we want you to have freedom, and if you've got the financial freedom to buy something when you want to, sometimes waiting is good. You are going to hit things in your life. You will have to buy 2 water heaters in less than 6 months. We've done that. You are going to have to buy a new car or have an extra house. Like, these things are going to come up, and you're going to lose some of the flexibility in your budget that you had for all of the things that you want. Adulting is hard. It just is. So sometimes it's actually better for you to build up the muscle of waiting to buy something, so that way when life kind of deals you a curveball or a punch to the face, you're able to handle it. Practice makes perfect in this instance, but just know that delayed gratification within finances is a good thing, and just don't be afraid of it.
Mm-hmm. So next up, I want to share the idea of financial stewardship in your marriage with you. And we mentioned earlier in the talk, and the main point is that money is spiritual, and money has power. Money is going to be a force in and through your marriage. And I think the natural thing that people take that as is a negative thing, and that can certainly be true. Money can be a divider. But applied properly, applied with good stewardship, money can be a force for good. It can be a force for God. It can be a force for the kingdom through you and through your marriage. And that's really where we see financial stewardship come to life. The idea that your highest goal for money in your relationship should not just be to avoid fights about it. Like that, you're setting the bar too low. Your goal is to turn finances into a force for the kingdom, and to see your money through your investment, or the way that you enjoy it, or the way you share it with others, to see that money build the kingdom around you. And so set that bar high, and as you think about money, don't just think about the potential negative effects. Think about the real positive upside if you get to a healthy place with money in your marriage.
Just because we are telling you not to let money have power over you doesn't mean that money isn't powerful. Mm-hmm. So you can really harness that power and direct it outward rather than being controlled by it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go into the Bible here for another hot second. So if we go into Malachi 3:10, it says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be enough room to store it." So I'm going to rewind a minute and go back to when we were sitting in your chairs. I had just graduated college. I owed a lot of money for college because I went out of state because somebody beat me out of my full ride scholarship. Not bitter at all. Crossroads was doing a campaign, which means that they were asking for money. And at that point, we weren't tithing. And we were buying this house that we just told you that we couldn't offload, but it was our house at that time. And we were planning a wedding, and 10% seems like a lot. I go for 10% sales. 10% seems like a lot. So I was just really not in a place where I wanted to do this tithing thing. And I was the one who was being our CFO. And so if you listen to Brian, he'll say, like, you need to relax your sphincter. My sphincter was unrelaxed at the moment. But Dennis was very kind about the way that he brought this up. I think he was probably had the righteous, or he was on the right side, so to speak, by wanting to tithe. But he just talked to me about it. and we prayed about it, which I didn't really like the praying out loud thing either. It gets better if you actually practice it. I'm just giving you the full picture. But the more we prayed about it, the more it felt like the right thing to do. And so we started to tithe the 10% on the net money that we got. And then that felt kind of okay. And then I started automating that giving. And then that felt sort of okay. And then I got confused about what I was supposed to do for things like tax refunds. And I said, you know what? It's just easier if we do it on the gross. And so we automated that. And it actually got to a point where, as Dennis and I would get a pay raise, or if we would get some sort of money we weren't expecting, the first thing was to celebrate, like, yeah, that's awesome. And then the second thing was, don't forget to update the tithe, because it was a really fun way for us to see that we were building the kingdom. So I can look back at that journey, and now I can tell the story, and it seems all great and everything. It was hard, but I can say that that was a detox that I needed from money having too much power. I just wanted the security of having it in my bank so much, to have the freedom to buy the thing just in case, and I was giving it too much power because of that.
Yeah, and so the tithe for us has become that way to know that our money is a force for good in building the kingdom. And it's hard to describe rationally, but there is absolutely a joy that comes from that, and freedom that comes from it. In the same way that having a budget can give you freedom, it's weird. Just having this tithe gives you a lot of freedom. And I genuinely believe God has changed our hearts. Even my heart, from I think I was probably coming from more of a legalistic background at first. Now it's something that we really care about and feels good. And even giving opportunities beyond that come up, and it's just exciting and fun. So that probably sounds crazy, but we have really seen finances become this force for good and force for the kingdom through our marriage.
And in this Bible verse, one of the interesting things that you see is that God actually asks you to test him in this. And not to go into all of the details, but we have seen the benefits of tithing come through in ways that I wouldn't have expected. So we have this tithe, but we had a time period where Dennis lost his job unexpectedly right before we had our second kid. So we went down to one income, and I was taking a maternity leave. And then while I was on maternity leave, I got a crazy high raise that I was still getting paid, which was nuts. We've had debts forgiven. We've had just a lot of blessings come through financially, that I honestly think are just because we've been obedient in this.
It literally felt like the floodgates of heaven opened up and poured out on us. It was ridiculous. And God's not a slot machine. It's not like, well, if you put in this much, it's going to give back. But we've just been blessed in incredible ways, and I think part of that is God smiling on our faithfulness when it comes to finances. And that's, what that looks like for you. It was a journey for us. It was absolutely a journey for us. And no one jumps to 100 right away. But invite God into your marriage. Invite God into this financial discussion in your marriage, and engage with each other and with God on what this looks like for you. I promise you that engagement will be rewarded. And that engagement will make you, your relationship, both with your spouse and with God, so much stronger because of it.
Consider what you want your vision for how your finances should flow. It doesn't have to actually be a part of your vision, but we do have a goal for money, or a way to keep it in check, which is we never want money to be a hindrance from a way that we can sporadically bless people. And so part of that is, we want to have the financial means. We need to have enough in our savings, where if somebody's going on a mission trip, or if there's we want to buy somebody dinner just to show them that we love them, that's something we can do. But it also means that we can't be holding on to our savings so much, that we can't do that. And so that kind of fits into just our overall desire to build the kingdom, but it is a way that we have specifically thought about money.
All right. Whew. That's the finance talk. My goodness. Always a sensitive topic. So thank you for bearing with us. You're going to spend some time talking with each other about this now. Actually, first you're going to spend some time individually as you can see on the slide.
It's
So
like
follow.
a game show. You both have to write down a number, and then
I
maybe
know.
you can like flash it to each other. And
So individually write out what you think that maximum spending limit should be, and then discuss a couple things as a couple. So one, where you were on that spending limit, what merging your finances looks like, personal financial strengths and weaknesses, as well as how your differences complement each other or could cause conflict. And then be ready to discuss that in your digital group come Saturday.
it's all on page 6.
Yes, go to page 6. And thank you guys so much.
Bye.